forest tower. The first match will be Naruto Uzumaki versus Rock Lee, Ayate announced. Naruto nodded and turned to face his opponent. Lee's sensei, Might Guy, called out to his student, "Lee, show them what you're made of. Take them off." "But, Guy Sensei, you told me to only take them off to protect the people of the village." "I know. I'm giving you permission. Your opponent will not go down easily." "Yes, Guy Sensei," Lee called back, tears in his eyes, giving each other their signature thumbs up and smile. Naruto smiled as he watched Lee take off his orange leg warmers. "What's he doing, Kakashi-sensei?" Sakura asked from the balcony. "He's removing his weights," Kakashi said, lifting his headband, displaying his Sharingan. Sasuke noticed and decided to activate his as well. Lee pulled off his weights and dropped them on the floor, creating a small crater and kicking up a cloud of dust. As he placed his leg warmers back on, everyone stared at him with wide eyes. "Guy, how much are those weights?" Kakashi asked his best friend and rival. Guy smiled proudly. "Enough to put him on par with a Jonin in terms of speed and Taijutsu. In a way, he could very well be considered a genius." "Do you want this to be a Taijutsu-only battle, Lee?" Naruto asked, deactivating his gravity seals. "Yes, it would be very much appreciated," Lee responded, getting into a defensive stance. "Very well, my friend," Naruto said, getting into his own stance. He brought his hands together, deactivating his gravity seals down all the way. He jumped a few times to get himself used to his speed. Suddenly, the two Genin disappeared, only to reappear and begin a fast flurry of punches and kicks. The only ones who were able to keep up with their speed were the Jonin, and even they were having difficulty. The two stopped their struggle and performed a few backflips, creating distance. They each pulled out a kunai and continued their battle. Naruto jumped and threw his kunai, which was barely dodged by Lee, who grabbed it in midair and threw the blades. Naruto smirked and blocked them with his sword. He dashed towards the green shinobi and began attacking Lee. "How long have you been training Naruto, Kurenai?" Guy asked, seeing that he was keeping up with his student. "Personally, I've been a sensei for 6 months, but he and Hinata have been training since before they entered the academy. Naruto has created new Taijutsu styles and created a spin-off of the Hyuga's Gentle Fist. And on top of that, he's also a master in ninjutsu and seal mastery." "Amazing! He truly is strong. He and Lee are in a way kindred spirits. Truly, Naruto is a prime example of youth at its peak." "Why do you say that?" Kakashi asked as they watched the fight. "They have spent their life training their talents. They both deserve to be Chunin, but only one will pass. And regardless of who does, they will have my undying support," Guy answered. He leaned over the railing and called out to Lee. "Lee!" Lee blocked a kick and looked up at his sensei as Naruto jumped away. "Use your trump card." "But you told me to only use that against an enemy ninja in order to protect a lot of people, Guy Sensei." "It's alright. I give you permission to use it as well. I believe your youthful opponent would welcome the challenge." Rock Lee looked over to Naruto. "Use your full power, Lee. I want to see how strong we both are." Lee nodded. He closed his eyes as all others focused on him. Guy could not help but let a smile spread across his face. 8 inner gates. Gate of opening, open. Gate of rest, open. Gate of life, open. Gate of pain, open. Gate of closing, open. Lee shouted as his pupils disappeared. His skin turned red. His veins bulged. And a green aura appeared around him. Blue chakra was pulled out of the air and swirled around him, a side effect of him activating the technique. Guy, you taught that boy the 8 gates? Kakashi asked in a shocked yell. I did. It will help him push past his limits and reach the pinnacle of Taijutsu, Guy responded as he watched his prized student. What are these 8 gates? Sasuke asked, angry that he cannot copy the technique with his 2-tomoed Sharingan. 8 gates are a taijutsu style which removes the limits of the body and lets one use their full strength in battle. Very few have ever learned to unlock the gates, as it takes years of training. But it has a side effect. If a person ever uses the 8th gate, they die. Even then, using any of the gates can be extremely dangerous. And why haven't you taught me this yet, Kakashi-sensei? Sasuke demanded, clenching his fists angrily. Kakashi only knows how to open the first gate, Hinata said as she watched her boyfriend and his opponent. Kakashi frowned under his mask. How did you know? Me and Naruto always do research on our shinobi comrades' skills after we first meet, she responded. Kakashi, as a Jonin, has only opened the first gate, which is a great achievement in and of itself. But even you, Sasuke, being considered an above-average genin, could not unlock the gates without years of training. Even then, there is no way to know if you would ever be able to open them at all. Kakashi nodded, emphasizing Hinata's point. So tell me, Hinata, how many gates have you opened? He asked, smiling under his mask. I have no idea what you mean, Kakashi, Hinata said with a mocking smile. But as for Naruto, you'll see how many he's opened soon. Well, Lee, if you're going all out, then so am I, Naruto said as he too closed his eyes. 6th gate, Gate of Joy, open, the Uzumaki shouted as he went under the same transformation as Lee. Lee smiled, witnessing his rival's strength, but he was not going to hold back just because he opened one less gate. The two dashed towards each other at speeds that no Jonin in the room could keep up with. Only after images and blurs were seen. Only the Hokage could see them as a smile spread across his face. Every time the two made contact, there was a shockwave that kicked up dust. Lee jumped back and sent out a barrage of shuriken. Naruto punched the air, making them all fall to the ground from the shockwave. A few got past as he jumped above them and pulled out his sword. He threw the weapon, making the blade go through the center of the shuriken. The two continued their fist fight, with Naruto having a slight upper hand. Is this really the boy I've been training with the past year? Neji asked himself with his Byakugan active, trying to keep up with the speed of the battle. The Rock Lee he knew was an entirely different person. And, although he would not admit it, he was now slightly scared of Lee and the power he displayed. More importantly, he was shocked to see that the dead last at the academy had opened more gates than Lee and was going toe-to-toe with him. I must use my finishing move if I want to win this fight, Lee thought as he dodged a spinning kick, followed by a double front kick. Naruto was continuing to press harder and was not giving his opponent time to think. Lee faked a spinning kick of his own before he jumped at Naruto and kicked him high into the air. He jumped above him and used the bandages on his arm to wrap around the Uzumaki's waist. He yanked Naruto towards him and sent a massive punch into his chest. Hidden Lotus. There was a large cloud of dust created as they landed on the ground. Once the dust had cleared, Lee stood on one side of the room, while Naruto was on one knee, gasping for breath. He had used a kunai to free himself just before bearing the entire impact. It looks like if I didn't open the sixth gate, I wouldn't be moving right now. You truly are a Taijutsu specialist, Lee, Naruto said, smiling his foxy grin as the physical changes to his body and the green aura around him reverted to normal. Thank you, my friend, Lee said. It was a most enjoyable experience, he finished as his knees buckled. He pushed forward, as did Naruto. They locked hands, struggling against each other. The 8 gates were a major strain, but neither was willing to give up. He felt himself give away. He fell backwards, but his body never hit the floor. A flash appeared behind him, helping him to lie down. Naruto sat down beside his friend. You're the first person besides Hinata to push me this hard, he said as Guy and his girlfriend appeared beside them. Are you alright? Guy asked his student. Yes, Guy-sensei, he answered as Hinata began healing his wounds. But what about Naruto? Will he be alright after that attack? Don't worry about me, Lee. I could use the full 8 gates and still survive, after all. Lee gave him a surprising look. I'll tell you about that later. For now, just know that I have an incredible healing factor. Inside Naruto's mind, Kurama could not help but puff out his chest in pride. And the winner by knockout, Naruto Uzumaki, Hayate announced, ending the match. He could not help but smile as he watched the 2 genin join their comrades on the balcony. If the remaining fights were as incredible as this one, these genin were bound to surpass their ancestors. The next match will be Shikamaru Nara versus Kinsuchi, Hayate said, making the 2 jump down to the battlefield. The following matches went by quickly. Shikamaru used his Shadow Possession Jutsu to force his opponent to hit a wall, knocking them out. Neji easily beat his opponent with a few gentle fist strikes. Tamari from the Hidden Sand and Tenten were the next to fight. Unfortunately, Tamari used Wind Style, which was a direct counter to Tenten's onslaught of airborne weaponry. Ino had given a good fight against her opponent, but they ended at a stalemate. The match was declared a draw. Next match is Sasuke Uchiha versus Sakura Haruno. Sakura jumped as she saw her name on the screen. She glanced over at Sasuke, who held a stoic expression. Strangely, she felt a little hurt that he was not at least sad to fight her, since they were comrades. She followed Sasuke down to the arena and stood on the opposite side. She stole herself and got into a fighting stance. We may be comrades, Sasuke, but that does not mean I will go easy on you, she said. Sasuke rolled his eyes, making Sakura frown. The Uchiha did not notice the look, and instead began to attack her as soon as the signal was given. He threw a punch, and was surprised that Sakura blocked it with her arm. Just how strong has she gotten during this training of hers? He asked himself. He continued to press his attack, but the pink-haired girl just kept blocking. She threw a kick which Sasuke dodged. He threw a kunai that Sakura was able to avoid and sent out a barrage of shuriken. Sasuke scoffed and easily avoided the onslaught. Sakura narrowed her eyes as she watched him. He smiled as he weaved hand signs. Fire style, fireball jutsu. He nodded as he watched the fire engulf his comrade. Kakashi. Kakashi looked over to Naruto, who was slowly being healed by Kurama's chakra. Which one of your students are you rooting for? As their sensei, I can't show favorites. But I would say that Sasuke has the upper hand. It is true that Sakura has been working harder since the Land of Waves, but her skills are still lacking compared to Sasuke's. I wouldn't be so sure, Hinata said as she stood beside her boyfriend. My Byakugan is showing me that her skills are improving. Kakashi gave her a puzzling look. He turned back and focused his Sharingan on Sakura, who was in the middle of the small fire. He could not help but smile underneath his mask. Sasuke's eyes widened, subconsciously activating his Sharingan. He watched as the fire subsided to reveal a sphere of water in the center. Sakura smiled happily. Her plan had worked. During her training, she found out that she had a water affinity. One of the techniques she learned was the water prison jutsu. The same jutsu Zabuza had used on Kakashi back on their way to the Land of Waves. She had found another use for the jutsu in the form of a defensive bubble. Sasuke's fire would be unable to hurt her while inside the prison. She pulled her hands out of the water, deactivating the jutsu. When? Sasuke asked angrily. When did you learn that jutsu? How did you use it without having access to water? Sakura pointed to her wrists. Sasuke looked with his Sharingan and cursed himself. Modified storage seals appeared on her wrists. Naruto chuckled as he stood up slowly. So, she asked you for some seals, Hinata? The Hyuga nodded, showing her own seals on her wrists. Sakura asked me to help her make the seals, but she was the one who came up with the idea of storing water inside them. After that, I made it so that the seal requires a continuous flow of chakra in order to release water. And with her level of chakra control, which borders complete mastery, she can use them easily. Naruto and Kakashi nodded. Kakashi made a silent vow to teach Sakura more water jutsu after the exams were finished. Sasuke cursed himself once again as he watched Hinata form hand signs. He read the signs quickly and prepared a counterattack. Water style, Hand of Waves jutsu. Fire style, Dragon Fire jutsu. The collision created a cloud of steam. Only Sasuke, Kakashi, and Hinata could see with their Kekkei Genkais. With them, Sasuke could see that his attack had pierced through the two water funnels. Sakura let out a shriek of pain as she was hit by the flames. Sasuke smirked. The mist dissipated as he walked up to Sakura's limp body on the ground. He then frowned, feeling a small bit of regret for hurting his teammates. He knelt down to help her up. But before he made contact, Sakura turned into water. A water clone? How many jutsus had she learned? He quickly turned to see a kunai placed at his throat. Sakura stood there with a determined look on her face. Forfeit, Sasuke, Sakura said hopefully. I don't want to hurt a friend and comrade. No, Sasuke seethed. No, you will lose. Sasuke's eyes widened as he channeled chakra through his Sharingan, attempting to place Sakura under a genjutsu. The girl swayed, losing her balance. She tried to release the illusion, but Sasuke continued to channel chakra through his eyes. The genjutsu became so strong that Sakura lost total consciousness. Sakura fell to the ground with a thud. Winner by knockout, Sasuke Uchiha, Hayate announced, ending the match. "Hate to say I told you so," Kakashi said. "She did give a good fight, but she still needs improvement." Naruto chuckled. "Can't argue there, but I still have a feeling that her strength will be equal to Sasuke in the future." Kakashi nodded, admiring his students as the pink-haired girl was taken away.